and welcome to Many Voices, Many Visions. I'm your host, Norma Holland. This week, we'll take a look at a new book that seeks to empower young girls and the women they'll become. A local nurse wrote the book, and she joins us in studio. Plus, preparations underway for Rochester's annual Martin Luther King community-wide celebration. We'll hear from the event's organizers in just a bit. But first, I'd like to introduce you to Marjorie Baker Price. She is a local nurse, and she's written this book called Miranda and the Magic Mirror. It's a tiny tale of transformation for all ages. I love the title. I love the concept, and there you see it right there. Miranda and the Magic Mirror, tiny tale of transformation for all ages. And Marjorie, let's start off. You've worked with a lot of people over the years who, on a number of, for a number of reasons, people who have emotional concerns or emotional problems, self-esteem issues. So it only seems natural that you would write a book for young girls. Why did you want to focus on that population? And what made you want to write the book?
Good questions. Actually, this was a roundabout story in and of itself as far as how it came to be, because originally I wrote this as a story for an inner child workshop for women that I did back in the early 90s.
Wow, so the inspiration for the book came from the early 90s.
Right.
Okay, it's a while ago.
And my complete inspiration came from my daughter, who is 21, who was a baby at the time. I was looking at her. This is my youngest child. I have 3 daughters, and thinking about her life. And I was thinking about this workshop, and the story literally came over me as a fable about a good little girl, a girl who only wanted to please everyone around her, who was very afraid and had lost herself. And so I took her on a magical journey, quote unquote, up above is the way I described it. And as that journey unfolds like an odyssey, she comes to understand that she needs to look within. And when she can look within, she finds that sense of personal power. And to me, we're never too young to get that message. I think certainly in the world today, in terms of young girls.
Why today? What do you see around you today? I mean, your daughters
21
are grown now, but
I have
you still see what happens to young girls who don't get this message early on.
Right, they lose themselves, and I think that in some ways pressures are more complicated, and they seem more acute. I now have a 4-year-old granddaughter, and so I'm kind of blown away by all the stuff going on about princesses, which has always been there, but it seems rampant. And my concern is, what about the idea of women as an ideal vision, being whole and independent and not looking to be rescued, because a desire to be rescuing is the root of dysfunction. It's the root of codependency. Many of the women that I see in my centering tools practice, and most of the people I see are women, are looking to find themselves. They're lost, they're codependent, they're feeling pressured, they blame themselves, and they're still good little girls.
What about now, and the whole issue of princess, I really, that is very pervasive. That is a common theme, and we see this all the time. Young girls want to be princesses.
Right.
We even call our daughters princesses, or say, "You're my princess," or, with the crown and tiaras and things like that. Isn't some of that just harmless play, though?
I think it is a wonderful kind of magical example, but it's interesting to think about a princess versus a queen. A princess is under somebody's wing. A princess is young and not fully developed. And a princess, therefore, feels a sense of being taken care of. There may be a sense of entitlement with princesses, but I think...
Well, then you get into the divas.
Exactly. Exactly.
I've seen
you
that
got it.
on many a little girl's shirt. It says diva on it. And I always have to... You chuckle at first, and you think, oh, how cute. And then you think, gosh, I really hope she doesn't think that way.
And to me, entitlement comes also from a core sense of inadequacy, like, can I trust myself to make my way in the world? One of the best lines I know about princess stories is from one of my favorite movies. All right, help me out here with...
Not The Princess Bride.
That was so awesome, wasn't it?
That was a great movie.
That is my favorite. With Richard Gere and Julie...
Pretty Woman.
Thank you.
Yeah, Julia Roberts.
So the very end, and she says, I want the whole story. I'm the princess in the tower, and the man comes comes to rescue me. So he finally does that, despite his own desire to run away from it. And he says, now what happens? And the last line of the movie is, she rescues him right back. Well, to me, this is a story about how we really have to rescue ourselves.
Well, again, the book is called it's called Miranda and the Magic Mirror, for all the good girls of all ages who wish life could be better. Far from being a critique of, you know, today's culture, it's also an empowerment, and that's what it is. We're going to talk about how you can get involved in this. There are some workshops coming up you may be interested in for you and for your daughter. We'll be right back. All right, we are back with Marjorie Baker Price and her book called Miranda and the Magic Mirror. It's a book called A Tiny Tale of Transformation for All Ages. It's a book that you wrote for young girls, but also the young women, that they'll become.
Right.
You include a section in the book for women as well, because you hope that women will read this along with the young women in their lives.
Yes.
You talk about bullying in this book too, and I think that's so important to point out, because we hear so much about bullying, and it makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yes. There's a bully in the story. And I think, certainly, speaking of nurses, there's a saying that, unfortunately, is nurses eat their young. Well, I think disempowered girls and women can eat each other, too.
Nurses eat their young?
How do you like that one? Never mind.
Oh, gosh.
I shouldn't segue too much.
I've never met a nurse who would do that. I've met wonderful nurses. But anyway,
thank you for saying that.
Okay,
anyway.
But you're saying what?
So I think, especially the classic Mean Girls story, is girls get into middle school and they eat each other. There's a lot of bullying with girls, and I think in recent years that's really begun to come out.
Why is that? Is that, I mean, look, as an adult, I can look back and see the girls who were the mean girls were probably the most insecure of all girls.
Totally.
And they were lashing out to try and protect themselves.
That's right.
But when you're that age, you don't see that. You just see someone who feels that they're more powerful than you.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
You can't evaluate them.
That's right.
The same way.
And so there is a bully, a girl, in the Miranda story, and through her own inner journey, Miranda very easily finds a simple way and an effective way to deal with bullying. So it was interesting to me that I wrote about that, and that bullying as a topic that seriously needs to be addressed regarding abuse and its effects kind of came of age. I kind of feel, along with my daughter who's 21, that Miranda's come of age, and that it's interesting that it's kind of had its own journey to basically finally be published by Productivity Publications, a local publisher, by the way, this fall.
Your practice, Centering Tools, you work with all kinds of people with different types of problems, depression. What other sorts of people do you see? People with substance abuse issues? Or
I do.
And then refer them to get professional help? I mean, who do you work with in your practice, aside from some of these women who perhaps never grew out of the need to want to please everybody?
Right. I think that primarily I do focus on empowerment and self-healing. That's kind of my tagline after Centering Tools. And so within that realm, and also I have an integrative counseling and holistic practice. It's very wide-ranging. So I might be doing Reiki and grief counseling on a person suffering from cancer. I might be talking with a woman who is abused and supporting her decision to leave a relationship and begin to recover. I might work with a caretaker who's struggling to keep her head above water, caring for elderly parents. But it's all about empowerment and kind of being able to look within yourself and find tools, along with whatever else you're working with to help.
You have some workshops coming up that involve young women and girls, I should point out. One of them, they're both on Saturday, February 1st at the Carmen Lodge at the Brighton Town Park. One is from 11:30 to noon, and that is the girls' workshop.
It's actually the 11:30 to noon. I know that
I'm
better
sorry,
change that flyer.
11:30 to noon is the
author signing.
I see.
And the girls' workshop, which will be for girls and their favorite adults.
I see.
So moms, grandmas, aunts, friends. It'll be a class from 10:30 to 11:30, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be the artist from Marinda who's going to be doing some crafts.
Okay.
And I'm going to be taking girls and their favorite adults on an inner journey to kind of see how they might open things up inside and write and draw about it.
When we think about this, you know, some of this sounds almost, some people might say, well, this is sort of, I don't know, new agey, but, or spiritual, but you're saying, look, if you can see what the point is very clear. It's about making sure the young woman in your life, the young girls in your life, see themselves as more than what they see in the mirror.
That's it.
And that is important, isn't it?
Well put. And so there are mirrors and mirrors. And if we had a mirror and we could see inside ourselves, which is some of Marinda's magical journey. It's a fable. It's a fairy tale, which when I was a child, those were my favorite books to read.
Sure.
If we have that mirror and we can, through our imagination, which Einstein said is everything, look inside of ourselves, we can really see who we are.
Okay.
We can see how powerful and wonderful we are. It's not about being selfish. It's about finding a center. And in that center, we can face each other as equals. We know how to be assertive and to deal with challenging situations. Not that we don't need help, but we have to be our own best resource. We're the one that experience our own lives.
It's a universal topic, or universal advice, really. I feel we could all use it advice. But if you've got a young woman in your life who you really in particular want to help her to become the best woman she can be, the best person she can be, centurytools.com is where you can go for more information about Marinda and the Magic Mirror, but also productivitypublications.com. Marjorie, thank you so very much.
Thanks, Norma.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
It was great to see you again.
Good to see you.
All right, we'll be right back after this. Stay with us.